Hi, it's November 30th, the last day of November. Tomorrow's December, and this is advanced class. And we're getting ready to continue Outsiders. Whee! Let's begin. Oh. I got nothing. After a while, you teach long enough, you decide to get more creative with life, and that's where I decided to go. For there, we have the homework and the novel and the stuff coming up. Book report turn-in coming up in early turn-in is a week. Novel homework, blah, blah, blah. Download, it is due a week from today. Test quiz is going to be next Tuesday. It's a normal paper quiz, not Socrative. So that way you can actually use option number 4, which is taping in your quiz. So I tried to make that an available one to you. So on that one, you're going to have to actually use your own brain on this one. Excuse me. And then we got into that. Now all you need out is the Outsiders book and the highlighter if you want to use it, and your writing utensil. For you.
Are you not a study session for the test?
Probably not for the quiz. When we get time to the actual test, probably. But I'm not super worried because this is more of a novel. We'll have covered it all in class. It shouldn't be super tough. Fingers crossed. But if you guys request it, I'm happy to hang out with me. I'm in here early anyway, so it's not like it's skin off my back. Yes?
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
One, why do you mean catharsis?
Catharsis, by definition, means a healing action that you do, something to make you feel better. So something bad happens to you and you have to work through it to get better. So something bad happened to her. And what we have coming up in part 3 is where the catharsis happens. Where she now has had this horrible thing happen, and she has to figure out how to make her life better because of it. And so now that she's committed to this path, she finds a way to make good out of bad things.
She feels struggling. You create the path of being a vampire.
When you said tape in your quiz, what score do you have to get?
That's a good question. I should put that in the directions.
23.
It's in the directions, Sandy.
Let's see. To where we started yesterday. Our main character in the story is
Pony Boy.
Actually done. Pony Boy has 2 brothers that are. Did not expect you to remember. A little impressed. Dairy and Soda Pop. It starts off with them leaving the movie house, and we have Paul Newman. How else do you know Paul Newman?
I went to Walmart yesterday, and I was in the ranch and I was looking for a nice.
Did you find some?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one big fan. Now that you know it exists, like every time you guys would go to the grocery, like, oh, is it really? He didn't lie. I mean, I lie all the time, but not on this one. Where am I?
Creative
No, I'm just confused. Yeah.
Derry reminds me of Daryl from Walking Dead.
Something like that, except nicer.
Kind of.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he kills fewer zombies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have them though. It tastes mediocre.
Okay. Then we covered to there. We got the Greasers, which is the main gang of kids that we're getting into. And who is it that is trying to beat up the Greasers? What is Socials short for? Socials. Which, by the way, is why it's not usually pronounced socks. It's because it's short for socials and not the sockles. And so that's why it becomes socials. But it looks like socks, but technically it's socials. And then we had our pictures of the adorable social puppies and the social people from there. And then, what does it mean when you jump somebody?
There
you go. Has to be a group. And that's going to pop up again today with the whole jumping deal. It happens a lot in the book. They keep jumping. They had bad hobbies back then. Who is driving the red Corvair?
The
And that's when they jump out. Oh, and then we did talk about what is it the socials smell like? Hopefully it paid off for you. That there you go. I'm sure you went to science and smelled lovely.
I did.
You did? Now I do apologize if your Snapchat has blown up because of all the ladies coming after you. It's because the English leather.
I don't have Snapchat. I'm calling.
Well, English leather and Snapchat equals crashed phone. And then who is it that wears the madras? There we go. And then we got shoes. Okay. And then we got the Dairy's cowlip. That stuck up from there. And I think we had just gotten to cocked eyebrow and stuff like that. All right, so there we go. Let's see. With you guys, we stopped on page 9. So we get. Oh yeah. We'll also pause real quick. Also, if we have connections that you guys have found so far that are not just my connections that you can connect to people.
Oh,
That's where I was going off of the, Braden.
Well, I wrote when it said it said eyes that can be gentle and sympathetic one moment and then blazing with anger the next. That's kind of like me when my brothers anger me.
You go from nice, kind Braden to killer Braden.
Yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
Catharsis Braden.
Hey. You?
When it said Jerry is 6'2", I put my dad at that height too.
What page is that on?
Adorable.
Wow, that's tall.
The 6 foot, we just covered that. 8, 6? Close to it. Hobbit?
When it talks about Soda having dark gold hair and brown eyes, I just
Just drew a little arrow, just held up the book like that. Well done on that one. And Oldham?
With the English leather shampoo,
It's shaving lotion.
I don't care what it is.
Uh-huh.
But my dad doesn't use it, but he always smells like it.
No.
So
It is natural pheromones. That's impressive.
yes.
Dad's, of course, Snapchat. And then from there, now we get into halfway down page 9. We're going to talk about Steve Randall.
Okay.
What is this? They're gonna. There we go. Do you guys know what a hubcap is, by the way?
It's a thing
Yeah.
on a car on a wheel.
You said you were gonna teach us how to.
We're gonna get to that in just a
Yes,
moment.
the criminal stuff.
Steve Randall was 17, tall and lean, with thick, greasy hair he kept combed in complicated swirls. He was cocky, smart, and Soda's best buddy since grade school. Steve's specialty was cars. He could lift a hubcap quicker and more quietly than anyone in the neighborhood, but he also knew cars upside down and backward. And he could drive anything on wheels. He and Soda worked at the same gas station. Steve part-time and Soda full-time, and their station got more customers than any other one in town. Whether that was because Steve was so good with cars or because Soda attracted girls like honey draws flies, I couldn't tell you. I liked Steve only because he was Soda's best friend. He didn't like me. He thought I was a tag-along and a kid. Soda always took me with them when they went places if they weren't taking girls, and that bugged Steve. It wasn't my fault. Soda always asked me. I didn't ask him. Soda doesn't think I'm a kid. So with Steve, it says that he lifts hubcaps. Lifting hubcaps is not because they're heavy. It's a term for stealing hubcaps.
Because you can sell them because they're metal.
Kind of like shoplifting.
Nowadays, it's like shoplifting, but stealing on the street. Hubcaps are the things that go on wheels, and nowadays they're plastic, and you can get like 4 of them for $10 at Walmart. So for those of you who are wanting to start like a new criminal career, you're going to make all of like pennies of cents. It's not going to be nearly what it used to be. It used to be hard metal, and you used to be able to go up to a car sitting on the street, take a screwdriver, pop off the hubcap, and then you could go sell it to other people. And you go, hey, look, I got these 4 you wear like your long trench coat and have like the hubcaps hanging on the inside of it. You go walk up, you'll be like, hey, you want some hubcaps? Like, ding, 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 like, woo. And then you sell the hubcaps and make yourself some fat cash. Hubcaps. So I got trench coat and hubcap combined. The reason it was called lifting a hubcap is because hubcaps are down near the ground on a wheel. So after you steal it, you stand up and lift it up.
No!
So it wasn't because it was like weightlifting or anything like that. They weren't super heavy. It just meant that you were stealing them. Steve was really good at stealing hubcaps. Does that mean he's a criminal? Only if you get caught. Yes, he's breaking the law, but I mean, as we get farther into it, we're going to find out a lot of them break the law because it's just fun. Sunday.
Where did you get that hubcap?
I got that one on the side of the road running with my cross-country team. We were just
Uh-huh.
running along one day, and I was like, hubcap, like, so, and I'm like, outsiders, like, so, and I'm like, pfft. So I picked it up, and I just kept running with it, like, you're so weird. I'm like, you don't know half of it. So I just brought the hubcap back and put it in my room.
That's sure where you got it.
Yeah, or
Don't worry about you.
skills. Whichever, one or the other. Only been in jail 5 times. 2-bit math.
Wait,
the oldest.
5? 5?
5's better than 6. Stop jumping. 2-bit, life's not over. 2-bit Matthews was the oldest of the gang, and the wisecracker of the bunch. He was about 6 feet tall, stocky in build, and very proud of his long, rusty-colored sideburns. He had gray eyes and a wide grin, and he couldn't stop making funny remarks to save his life. You couldn't shut up that guy. He always had to get his 2 bits worth in, hence his name. Even his teachers forgot his real name was Keith, and we hardly remembered he had one. Life was one big joke for 2-bit. He was famous for shoplifting and his black-handled switchblade, which he couldn't have acquired without his first talent. And he was always smarting off to the cops. He really couldn't help it. Everything he said was so irresistibly funny that he just had to let the police in on it to brighten up their dull lives. That's the way he explained it to me. He liked fights, blondes, and for some unfathomable reason, school. He was still a junior at 18 and a half, and he never learned anything. He just went for kicks. I liked him real well because he kept us laughing at ourselves as well as at other things. He reminded me of Will Rogers. Maybe it was the grin. Will Rogers was a cowboy comedian from back in the day. That's why I put up a little picture of Will Rogers there. With 2-bit. One, it says that he's a junior, which is like your second to last year of high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Normally you graduate high school when you're 17 or 18, but 2-bit's 18 and a half and still a junior, so apparently he really likes school. He's been sticking around for quite some time. And it also mentions 2 things with him. One, that he's good at shoplifting. And what is shoplifting?
You steal from the store.
Nicely done.
You lift up stuff from the shop.
Lifting stuff from the store. Nicely done. And then also talks about him having a switchblade. And what's a switchblade?
Knife.
Nicely done. Which I have fine one for you here today.
I love switchblades.
It's fine. I'm sick like that.
I love switchblades.
I would never stab a kid.
You never said you would ever kill a kid.
The way switchblades work is it's a knife that's much more real than this one, and it has a little button on the side, and you would hold on to it till you're ready to stab somebody, like Delaney wants to do with me right now, and then you hit the little button, twink, and the blade comes out, and you do a little stabby, 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 and then you hit the little button on the side, and it goes whoop, and it would go right back down. They're illegal to have now because there's no point to have a switchblade unless you're wanting to go stabby, stabby on people. Plus, boys tend to keep them in their pockets, and boys tend to roughhouse with each other. And when you go up and ninja kick your friend, and it hits the button and goes, twink! Not so good. So, we'll let your imagination take that one. So they redesigned it to what was called a rainbow switchblade, which does not shoot straight out. Instead, it shoots like a rainbow. And it comes across. This particular
What do you need a comb for?
For my beard, it's all scraggly. And so that's the other one. So it said this way, when you keep it in your pocket and your friend kicks you, it doesn't shoot into your leg. Sorry, it locked on me. There you go. It would pop out, and doesn't stab you, making things much easier.
Like a
And
butterfly
since I
knife.
have kids ask, there's also a butterfly knife.
Oh,
see us go!
Why do you have that?
Oh my god.
Butterfly knives don't have springs in
Can I
them.
do it?
And so with butterfly knives, they just have the blade down on the inside, and they're called butterfly, because then you can...
You can!
Mine's just a can opener. I would never stab a child while recording. So it's called a butterfly because it's supposed to look like a little butterfly wing when it flips around and stuff like that. So that's a little butterfly knife. Also, if a cop picks up with this, they tend to frown on that because there's no point in having a long butterfly knife unless, once again, you're planning on stabbing somebody. And for some reason, popos tend to frown on that. You know how popos are. And so, there you go. Those are your 3 types of knives, which plays a big role.
Muscle memory.
Now you think I got arrest number 4. And back to here. All right.
My brother was obsessed with that though.
There we go. Back to this part. If I had to pick the real character of the game, it'd be Dallas Winston. Dally. I used to like to draw his picture when he was in a dangerous mood, for then I could get his personality down in a few lines. He had an elfish face with high cheekbones and a pointed chin, small, sharp animal teeth, and ears like a lynx. Excuse me. His hair was almost white. It was so blonde. And he didn't like haircuts or hair oil either. So it fell over his forehead in wisps and kicked out in the back in tufts and curled behind his ears. Stop, you got right along the nape of his neck. His eyes were blue, blazing eyes, cold with the hatred of the whole world. Dally had spent 3 years on the wild side of New York and then been arrested at the age of 10. He was tougher than the rest of us. Tougher, colder, meaner. The shade of difference that separates a greaser from a hood, it wasn't present in Dally. He was as wild as the boys in the downtown outfits, like Tim Shepard's gang. In New York, Dally blew off steam in gang fights. But here, organized gangs are rarities. They're just small bunches of friends who stick together. And the warfare is between the social classes. A rumble, when it's called, is usually born of a grudge fight. And the opponents just happen to bring their friends along. Oh, I mean, there's a few named gangs around, like the River Kings and the Tiber Street Tigers. But here in the Southwest, there's no gang rivalry. So Dally, even though he could get into a good fight sometimes, had no specific thing to hate. No rival gang. Only socials. And you can't win against them, no matter how hard you try. Because they've got all the breaks, and even whipping them isn't going to change that fact. Maybe that's why Dallas was so bitter. I mean, he had quite a reputation. They have a file on him down at the police station. He'd been arrested. He got drunk. He rode in rodeos, lied, cheated, stole, rolled drunks, jumped small kids. He did everything. I didn't like him, but he was smart, and you had to respect him. Dally, special boy. With Dally, they mentioned a couple different things that he does. He does like to jump people, but because Dally is kind of a bit of a jerk, who does he like to jump? Yeah. So he doesn't even get together with other bad hooligans and like jump kids his age. No, he likes to pick on small children because Dally has issues. When it says that he likes to roll a drunk, probably also an activity that you're not familiar with. Rolling a drunk is when you go to a party and you wait till someone gets really, really drunk and passes out onto the ground. You walk up to them while they're passed out on the ground, you roll them over, and then steal from them. And you take their wallet and their jewelry and stuff like that. And then you run away. So he mugs people, but doesn't he like mug them face to face? He waits till they pass out and then takes all of their stuff. In the book, it's going to get real confusing between Derry and Dally, because they both play really big roles in what's coming up. Derry is the brother. Dally is the jerk. To help you remember between the two, Derry has 2 R's in it. Brother has 2 R's in it. Derry is the brother. Dally is a loser. A 2-time loser. Loser 2 times has 2 L's in it. Loser, loser, brother, brother. So hopefully that helps you out a bit when you're reading it. It is going to be confused, like, what? Derry did what? Why would he? Oh, it's Dally. Me. And so as you go through and read it, I'm trying to find a way to give you a little remembering thing. Matthew?
Is Dally a biography that was made about you?
Something like I wish I was that tough. No. If you started off as like a twiggy little geek and then made like poor choices, then nailed it. The part that says he's tough, not me.
We can tell.
Johnny Cade was last and least. If you can picture a little dark puppy that's been kicked too many times and is lost in a crowd of strangers, you'll have Johnny. He was the youngest next to me, smaller than the rest, with a slight build. He had big black eyes and a dark tan face. His hair was jet black and heavily greased and combed to the side. But it was so long that it fell in shaggy bangs across his forehead. He had a nervous, suspicious look in his eyes, and the beating he got from the socias didn't help matters. He was the gang's pet, everyone's kid brother. His father was always beating him up, and his mother ignored him, except when she was hacked off at something, and then you could hear her yelling at him clear down at our house. I think he hated that worse than getting whipped. He would have run away 1,000,000 times if we hadn't been there. If it hadn't been for the gang, Johnny would never even known what love and affection are. I wiped my eyes hurriedly. Did you catch them? Nope. They got away this time, the dirty... Two-Bit went on cheerfully, calling the socias every name he could think of, or just make up. Hey, the kid's okay? I'm okay. I tried to think of something to say. I'm usually pretty quiet around people, even the gang. I changed the subject. I didn't know you were out of the cooler yet, Dally. Good behavior. Got off early. Cooler is slang, by the way. You know what the cooler is slang for?
Jail!
Isn't it the jail and type police?
I highlighted that part and put me in my younger one. Oh! Just kidding.
You went to
Mostly.
jail?
Well, yeah.
7 times.
Tell us what you went
7
for.
times. I wish. 5.
Please.
Wait, can you tell us, please?
At the end of the year, I will tell you stories of my poor choices. But we're not there yet. I still have another 4 months of you respecting me. Good behavior. Got it. What, you don't respect me already? That hurts.
No.
Oh.
I highlighted one, but he was smart and you had to respect him, and I put Mr. Brovicast.
Aw. No, I appreciate the see. There you go. 4 more months of you keeping that underlined.
Can I switch my highlighter because it's getting on both pages?
Oh yeah.
Is it superpower? Oh, it's the you took yeah. That's the one I don't hand out. Is it for kids who come and randomly steal them from my bag?
Yeah.
School doesn't end on lunch.
Oh. No, but that's when you guys stop respecting me. It's okay. You missed me stabbing a kid once. It was great. Delaney almost died. I was in a hurry. I just gotta stab a kid. It was a little ahead of schedule. It was good stuff. It's okay. She's not dead now. She's much better.
Good.
Good behavior. Got off early. Dallas lit a cigarette and handed it to Johnny. Everyone sat down to have a smoke and relax. A smoke always lessens the tension. Kind of scared to see who's circling that part. I had quit trembling and my color was back. The cigarette was calming me down. Two-Bit cocked an eyebrow. It's a nice looking bruise you got there, kid. I touched my cheek gingerly. Really? Two-Bit nodded sagely. It's a nice cut, too. It makes you look tough. Now, tough and tough are 2 different words. Tough is the same as rough. Tough means cool, sharp, like a tough-looking Mustang or a tough record. In our neighborhood, both are compliments. Steve flicked his ashes at me. What were you doing walking by your lonesome? Leave it to good old Steve to bring up something like that. I was coming home from the movies. I didn't think. Well, you don't ever think, Derry broke in. Not at home or anywhere when it counts. You must think at school with all the good grades you bring home, and you always got your nose in a book. Would you ever use your head for common sense? Pfft, no sirree, bub. And you did have to go by yourself. You should have carried a blade. That just made Delaney flinch again. I just stared at the hole he toe of my tennis shoe. Me and Derry just didn't dig each other. I never could please him. He would have hollered at me for carrying a blade if I had carried one. If I brought home B's, he wanted A's. If I got A's, he wanted to make sure they stayed A's. If I was playing football, I should be in studying. If I was reading, I should be out playing football. He never hollered at Soda Pop. Not even when Soda dropped out of school or got tickets for speeding. He only hollered at me. Soda was glaring at him. Hey, leave my kid brother alone, you hear? It ain't his fault he likes to go to the movies. It ain't his fault the socials like to jump us. And if he had been carrying a blade, it would have been a good excuse to cut him to ribbons. Soda always takes up for me. Derry said impatiently, when I want my kid brother to tell me what to do with my other kid brother, I'll ask you.